Hello everyone. Thank you all the attendees for joining us today. I hope all the attendees had a great time networking with your peers in our networking lounges. A very good afternoon to all of you. I'm Snehil welcoming you all on behalf of Solar Quarter and First View Group to our webinar on the Green Leap in Gujarat, a solar success story. So before starting today's proceeding, I take this opportunity to thank and welcome our partner for this event, that is Launji. We have a short video of our partner Launji. Requesting my team to start playing the video, please.
Hello, I am audible.
Decades, we experienced the rise of Chinese photovoltaic companies and the transformation of Longi from a pathfinder and an inventor of technology to an industry leader. Longi was established in 2000 and changed the game rules of the industry by promoting monocrystalline modules in 2015. In 2016, Longi's mono-PERC technology brought the industry into an era of high efficiency and low LID. In 2017, Longi's bifacial PERC technology increases remarkable module power output with rare side irradiation. In 2019, M6 silicon wafers led the PV industry to an era of 450-watt ultra-high power. With strong innovations, Longi has made numerous achievements like 24.06% efficiency of monocrystalline PERC cell, the highest production of bifacial monocrystalline modules in the world, continuous technology advances and LCOE optimization. Now, Longi is about to set off another advancement in the industry, once again. The latest Longi high Mo5 modules with optimized LCOE, especially designed for large-scale PV stations, are now available. The power output of high Mo5 is up to 540 watts, with over 21% efficiency. The optimal size of the high Mo5 module, coupled with sophisticated construction, can reduce costs while increasing power generation. As seen in the PV station in Zhoushan, China, high Mo5 can significantly lower labor, land, and BOS costs and reduce LCOE. Also, the application of high Mo5 in Qatar has proved to be a remarkable improvement in cost reduction. The advanced technology of the high Mo5 leads to optimal LCOE, which is the result of Longi's exploration of every detail of functionality. New M10 gallium-doped silicon wafer can reduce the linear power degradation to 0.45% per year. Compared with the traditional welding technology, Longi's smart soldering technology reduces the tensile strength of the cell by 20%, by reducing the distance between cells by 2/3. This technology achieved a 0.3% improvement in module efficiency. High Mo5 follows a mature and reliable design path, framed, tempered glass on both sides to ensure the load capacity of the modules, with no crossbeam on the back to the module that blocks reflected light to ensure continuous and efficient power output. In practical applications, the size of high Mo5 is suitable for the main 1-portrait and 2-portrait horizontal single-axis tracking system. At the same time, it is perfectly compatible with the next-generation inverters. The working current, including 15% bifacial gain, is kept within 15 amps, without the loss of current generation. Standardization, perfect adaptation, cost optimization, and high efficiency leads to optimized LCOE that enables HIMO 5 to be one of the most valuable products on the market. The high volume production of HIMO 5 is ready. By first quarter of 2021, global supply is expected to reach 13.5 gigawatts. The new HIMO 5 joins the Longi HIMO family, bringing in a new PV era with ultra-high value.
Thank you, team, for playing the video. And now, without any further delay, let's begin session. And this session, we will be starting with our sponsor presentation by Mr. Rohan Scheller, Business Leader Distributed North and West India, Longi Solar. Welcome on screen, sir. Rohan, sir, are you there with us? Hello? 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 I think we have lost his connection. We can take his PPT after the panel discussion. So now we can start with the panel discussion. So in this panel, we have with us Mr. Prerak, who will be the moderating this session, Mr. Johan Shelar from Longi Solar, Mr. Kun Shah from Zodec Energy Limited, Mr. Ishan Choyer from Sunfra Renewable LLP, Mr. Rajesh Kulkarni from Oron Energy, Mr. Pratik Oja from FEMA, Mr. Mr. K.U. Rapulia from Heaven Solar Energy, and Mr. Hardik Vyas from Enerpark Energy Private Limited. Now I welcome all the panelists on the screen and requesting Prerak sir to lead the discussion. Before that, I would like to make a small announcement here, requesting all the attendees to post your question in Q&A box. Our panelists will take those questions after the session. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Prerak sir, now you can take the side.
Okay. So thank you very much. Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a great part that we are gathering here to discuss on the green leap in Gujarat, a success story. So basically, the the major agenda of that, like how in the government of Gujarat has lead the rooftop solar market and make a space where they are leading in the country, and how overall the most and how Gujarat can be in the hybrid and other state of the art in new technologies. It can consider as a governing factor and most competitive in the country. So with we are having some in this session we are planning to discuss on some policies which government has of Gujarat has made, which enable to make this journey a so smoother, where many developers, many individuals, many utilizers, they are attracted to do their investment on the solar part. So we would like to discuss here on the Gujarat new solar policy, and also we'll discuss about Gujarat industry, MSME, and corporate performance in the solar space. We will also discuss like on how the hybrid project of solar and wind can help and as a major contributor in the state of Gujarat in renewable energy sector, and also about the state of art as we discuss on radio technology. And the last we will discuss about how easy finance or how the government subsidies will help different developers to build their project. So I would like to welcome the panelist, Mr. Rohan from Longi, Mr. Kunj from Zodiac, Mr. Ishan from Sanfra, Mr. Rajesh from Huron, Mr. Pratik from FIMER, Mr. Keyur from Heaven, and Mr. Hardik from NRPAC. Very warm welcome to all the panelists and speaker. So, would like to start the discussion with Mr. Rajesh Kulkarni. So, Rajesh, can you share your view on like how did Gujarat solar policy, how the policy will help in the rooftop solar market, and how it can support to maximize the capacity capping in the state of Gujarat? Rajesh bhai is there? Rajesh Kulkarni? Okay. So, Mr. Keur, can you meanwhile Rajesh bhai will join us. Can you please start your perspective on the Gujarat solar policy and how we can maximize the capacity capping?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Prerak Bhai, for hosting this session. So, hello, everyone. Myself, Keyur Rakholia, and we are a solar design, engineering, and consultancy firm based in Surat, Gujarat. So, in the last couple of years, we have seen the growth journey of the Gujarat solar industry as well as the rooftop industry, and the government policy is playing a key role here. And since 2021 the policy got upgraded. At that time we like at that time there was a fear in the market that after this there will be some gross metering and there will be a loss to the customers, but government has removed the contract load uh, and the demand capacity for the rooftop solar projects. So industry nowadays can install maximum solar rooftop on their roof, depends upon how much space they have, and now they are getting the maximum benefit. Yes, of course, there are some banking charges if they are MSME, non-MSME, depending upon that, but there is no any limit on installation of the solar rooftop. So the industrialist can take the maximum benefit of the sun, and they are generating as much as possible from their roof. So government of Gujarat is supporting in that way, and in a residential sector, as we know, we are doing so good. Like last tender was almost 600 megawatt, and the upcoming tender is also 100, so 1,000 megawatt, and we are executing it very successfully. Government is releasing subsidies on time, and the end consumer is also very much happy with the rooftop policy.
Great. Thank you, Kirbai, for your views. So, if Rajesh bhai, you are there. Okay, Rohan is there. Okay, Mr. Kunj, can you share your perspective on why Gujarat wind solar hybrid sector will be a major contributor in the ambition of renewable energy capacity?
Yeah. Uh, Gujarat has two policies. One is solar policy 2021. Earlier it was 2015 policy, which was replaced by solar power policy 2021. And Gujarat also has solar wind hybrid policy 2018. So uh, Gujarat Solar Power Policy 2021 has put lot of restrictions in terms of the energy accounting period, which has been reduced from 1 month to 11 hours. It also put applied banking charges of 1 rupees 50 paisa for non-MSME and 1 rupees 10 paisa for MSMEs. Due to this and this 2018 policy of solar wind hybrid are still working with 1 month banking and 1 month energy accounting and no banking charges. So during and this policy is going to expire in 6 months from now. So due to this policy overlapping period, suddenly solar wind hybrid policy become very attractive for industries to adopt the solar and wind hybrid combined. And also it gives because of both the energies, wind power and solar power both are concerned, they are complementing to each other. Like wind power is maximum at night and solar power is maximum at day, only at day. So and they are complementing to industries requirement also. Only flip side in that policy is you can go for only 50% of your contract demand, but large industries who have big contract demands can always take care of it. So currently, till recent past or even now, the big industry is going for solar wind hybrid rather than only solar, and that is the because of this policy overlap.
Agreed, Mr. Kunj. So you are right that the major factor where when the solar is generating the power during the day and wind can generate the power during the evening hours or night. So ultimately, because grid need continuous power supply from the renewable resources. So that is the factor when it can impact on the grid, and if we can supply the flow, then we can utilize the grid at the maximum level. So that can impact on the overall power supply scenario of the state. So that's why the hybrid can be a most preferable power supply uh, in the renewable sector. So
But
ultimately,
one point is hybrid solar wind hybrid unlike solar, only solar, which is you can deploy for smaller ticket size also. Solar wind hybrid is you need little larger ticket size in terms of megawatts.
agreed with you. So when you are planning to deploy the hybrid project, the size of the project would be huge because it cannot be in a megawatt. So you can consider like it can only be utilized in the utility scale, and we cannot utilize it for the regular or rooftop scale or small scale industries.
So
So
it is not very effective for MSMEs. For large industry, yes, solar wind hybrid is very useful.
agreed. So let's come back to Mr. Rajesh. Rajesh is there?
Yeah, now I'm there. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we can able to hear you, Mr. Rajesh. So
You can't see me, but
we,
I'll try. Yeah,
no
sorry.
issue, no issue. We can hear you. So we would
Yeah,
like to discuss with one point where Mr. Keur has put their perspective on the solar policy, Gujarat solar policy. So
yeah.
we want to understand that how the solar policy of Gujarat, or specifically for rooftop, it increase it increase the overall scope of the rooftop industry in the Gujarat, and how it can maximize the capacity capping, which help the state.
Definitely. See, first of all, I think Gujarat, I think compared to all the other states, Gujarat has always been leading in creating very nice, conducive atmosphere for all the industries as well as the investors who really eye upon Gujarat as a destination. So far, it also talks about the story with the figures. Like if you talk about the Indian rooftop story, it's like 7.6 megawatt gigawatt is what we have seen the rooftop, and Gujarat is leading by far with 1.8 gigawatts of capacity. And as our friend Keyur also mentioned, the residential policies also they are doing quite extremely well with new tenders coming up and so on. Ease of doing business is always been the better thing. These are all rosy pictures, but then to be very frank, the last draft policy took a long time. So there was a time where people were thinking whether it was more of an uncertain situation where it was like government of India said you cannot go beyond 10 kilowatt, then it came to 500 kilowatt, and then there were so many industries, especially the textile units or many large industries in Gujarat, they wanted to go solar, but because it was not clear. But finally, when the final solar policy came out, it is a very good thing, that they actually capped it to 1000 kilowatt, unlike all other states who have really, capped it to 500 kilowatt. Ideally speaking, there are a lot of small players, mid-sized players who would like to go for solar. I have been also talking to a lot of Maharashtra industries and so on. They always say, the energy cost is very high in Maharashtra compared to Gujarat. So where your energy cost is high, if you want to really save the bottom line, solar is one way for them to help save the cost. But then if you don't have the right policy, it makes a really problem. It is good now because now the policy has opened up, and from 10 kilowatt to 500, not only just net metering, those who have, I mean, what I like is those who have, let's say, a lot of space, they can also go beyond that 1 megawatt. There's no capping kept. Of course, how you will calculate the gross metering and so on, I mean, probably they will give based on the APPC rates and so on. But still, I mean, this becomes more and more adaptable for the industries. Another one good thing about the policy I liked is, if you are already a consumer who has, let's say, put up 200 kilowatt or so, if you want to add another 300 kilowatt, for example, you probably your consumption has increased, you want to put more. So you don't have to migrate to the new policy. The old policy remains there. You only will, have a new policy for the new agreement for the new requirement. That is something very, very nice about this policy.
Rajesh, I
So,
agree with you. When
yeah,
you are capping up, so when you already having some limit or some projects or in place, and when you want to add some capacity to that, and if you
correct,
can make it easy, so that
correct,
really give a very good boost to the investor, and they can
100%.
invest it well. So you are right, and I agree with you that that could be a very good point of the Gujarat government policy, which is attracting the investor, and
Right.
rather which are motivating them to add on the capacity, and which is huge in
This
the percentage as well.
just one point to add, if only we didn't had this 40% BCD and so on, probably many people would have encashed it more. Of course, no hard feeling. I mean, I definitely understand you also from Adani. I'm very happy that, a lot of large players are there from Gujarat itself. I mean, I can tell you almost 13% of the capacity comes from Gujarat. And going forward, I think it will be more and more. But then the industry also needed some sort of, some breather in this middle period, where probably these kind of policies and the existing, tariff rates and everything would have been favorable. But it's okay. It's for the larger interest of the industry. We have to struggle somewhere. But my personal feeling was, maybe the BCD could have, taken a little pause, and, you guys get more time. Now, I think, I'm sure you are pressurized, and the industry is not yet ready, So that is somewhere I feel a little bit bad as a turnkey EPC player for a lot of clients who are looking forward. To be frank, almost 7 to 8% per watt peak, not percent, rupees per watt peak has increased over the period of this last 3 4 months. So it becomes very difficult. I don't know my other friends how they will respond to this, but I am sure many of our clients who are interested to go solar at this moment are only saying, oh, okay, we will have a look at it later. So that's something bad.
So Rajesh, your point is well taken. I want to take Rohan in the field, because you know that the part which you are where you are suffering. So Rohan is supplying that. So Rohan, can you tell us that what is your perspective on that? And then after that, I want to share mine.
See, I think I'll be definitely get caught by everyone here that whenever it comes about the price hike, everyone comes and like ask model manufacturers that yaar kya ho raha hai in the industry.
But Rohan, here is one more point. One more point from Rajesh is about the BCD. So he's saying that the BCD is the factor which is a governing factor right now, and that impacts on the further investment. So that part also you can cover.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, see, BCD, I'll take it later on. But even prior to BCD, also, like we have seen, Prerak ji also, you are also like closely watching all the revolutions also in the industry, as well as how this industry is having its requirement from the raw material side. So what we have together seen is like in 2019, when the major requirement of the raw silicon was there, it was around 80 or 90 RMB per kg. It has now went as high as around 262 to 70 RMB per kg. So you can see the gap is almost like 2 to 3 times higher than what it used to be basically, and that has impacted everyone basically over here. Being manufacturer, we try to absorb the maximum impact, but see, this is industry unfortunately we all are working on very cutthroat margins, and if anything is going beyond maybe 5-10%, that is just not been able to occupied by or absorbed by anyone. So ultimately it has getting hit into the cost of increment in the module pricing, even though everyone is ramping up with the capacity, but due to like the market dynamics, the supply and demand ratios, there is a high demand of silicon and the suppliers are very low and the generation is very low. It's the problem will remain for some more time, I think, and we will be getting hit because of that point on the pricing side. At the same time, Rajesh ji, as Rajesh said, that prices have been increased, and with the BCD into the picture, yes, obviously, even like we did a good business in the Q1 in India, because you all know that the PCD was about to kick in, and almost like more than 1.5 to close to 2 gigawatt were being imported in India. But later to that, obviously, there has been a slight halt, and everyone is expecting that. How anyone can occupy that, because it's not only 40%, but actual on ground it's 40 plus that 10% welfare surcharge, and it's close to 44%. And working around it or going through it, it's really difficult, and the prices has been increased like anything, and module being the major part, which is like around 60 to 70% of the cost of your project, this has been impacting a lot on that side. So yes, we are expecting that when I say like BCD is there, still we are trying to work around it, and we are trying to see India being big market, and we as a whole in India, that we know that we are also dependent for some raw materials from many other countries outside India. We see that in future we can have some good association in the technology sharing with the Indian partners, and we keep on supporting in India from our side.
Right. So here two perspectives. So I know that because the price of module is always the sensitive part, and when we start talking on it, so it's beyond a subject, but it's a part of interest of the people. So want to share. See, every perspective. So when we are looking, because we are also developers, and if we'll say about Adani Green Energy, we are having more than about 2 gigawatt of projects, which are under execution, or we need to procure module for them. And the same, what faced by industry, the same is faced by us, because we are having these projects by our own self. And even if we'll consider as you rightly said, that even if we are having Adani Group is having their own manufacturing setup somewhere in Mundra, but ultimately, when wafer polysilicon price will increase, that increase the wafer price, that increase the cell price, and that increase the overall module price. So even you are procuring or developing module by your own self, but unless and until you do not have a complete backward integration up to the polysilicon, you cannot control the price. And that only
True.
price can be controlling mechanism right now is the polysilicon which is there in China. So it's not there in India right now at this stage. So we'll consider the overall industry, yes. But when we are discussing about the BCD, I understand that BCD is impacting. But what I also understand that though we are also sufferer as a project people, but what I also understand that we have to look at both the side of the flip. We all have to understand the perspective of government. We have to understand the perspective of developer, and somewhere it should be balanced. Otherwise, we can never make our industry grow in the future, because there is no end of it. So with this note, we want to move in the second point, where I would like to have a perspective of Mr. Pratik Oza sir. So sir, I would like to understand about like how did Gujarat industry, MSME and corporate perform in the solar space in terms of RPO obligation and open access and third party sale and in all this part.
Thank you for the opportunity, Pirag Bhai.
Thank you.
I'm from Fimer. We are into specialized manufacture of inverters, right? As you must be aware. Regarding your question, well, for the RPO obligation and REC obligation, I would say we have not been very successful in that matter, right? the RPO obligations and the REC, where it's partially successful in the Gujarat industries, because people have not achieved the 17% or 20%, which is expected by the government or the obligation guidelines. Regarding the MSME success in the solar industry, I would say that in the open access field, we have been quite successful, right? Industries have been setting up plants, and power plants have been coming up in various categories in Gujarat fairly successfully. But for the third party sale, I think it's not successful because of the tariffs and the cross subsidies, and which have been imposed by the government policies on the user, buyer, and seller. It is a non-viable project at present. So this is my view on it. MSME, because of the special incentives given to MSMEs, we have fairly been able to be successful in that region.
Right. So, Mr. Kunj, can I have your perspective on the same?
See, RPO is like chicken and egg story. RPOs are designed to promote renewable, and the designated entities who are who are bound to provide renewable energy resources for their total energy, certain percentage of their total energy need. Frankly speaking, these designated entities are not fulfilling their RPO commitment, and though there are provision in law to penalize them, they till now they are going scot free and not being punished by competent authorities, and that's why nobody is serious about RPOs. So if we have to achieve the net zero target of 2070, or all the targets set up by our honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, the state regulatory committees, regulatory commissions must be enforcing the RPOs very strictly, and all the designated entities should adhere to that RPO compliance very religiously. Then and then we have that targets being achieved. As far as open access and third party sale in Gujarat is concerned, slowly and gradually industry is moving out of rooftop regime and going for open access kind of captive power plants, and even small MSMEs are also setting up 1 megawatt, 1.5 megawatt, 2 megawatt kind of captive power plants under open access regime. For third party, the charges and the losses designated by GRC for third party sale, losses are same, but charges, cross subsidy charges and additional surcharge, it makes the entire proposition unviable, and the cost of solar or wind power, solar power becomes same as of grid power. So currently, third-party sale is not very much popular in Gujarat. People are finding out new and new innovative solution to get themselves not attracted under third-party tax, these cross-subsidy charges. But still, the captive is more popular in under open access, but third-party is not that much popular. That's my take.
Great, Kunjbhai. So it was good to understand from you. So for the larger audience perspective and their understanding, the sale of electricity by the owner of the solar power project to the other owner will be considered as a third party sale.
Yes.
And basically, the surplus of solar energy purchased by DISCOM from
Hmm.
captive or third party sale will be
Yes.
considered to fulfill the DISCOM RPO, right?
Yes.
So the DISCOM will compensate the surplus energy injected into the grid, and
Hmm.
this will help them for getting REC. So this is
Yes.
a whole perspective. Just want to share for the audience interest.
Yeah.
Beyond that, there is one more point about the group captive. So, what is a group captive? The first time the concept of group captive in India, which was allowed by government of Gujarat. Basically, it's a multiple small industries, especially MSME, with lower load can get together and implement their own solar power project with no capacity limit. So the power generated will be shared and calculated in the same proportion of equity any industry holds in the joint venture group captive solar company. So that part considered group captive. So that
Yes.
also came in existence in nowadays, and people are utilizing it. But that generally happen when they are having a interconnection or interrelation or that some trust factor between the industry and the investors.
True, but as far as broader group captive definition, to escape the third party charges, uh, people are taking the advantage of the rule that users should have 26% equity, and then he can use 100% of power, which is Gujarat discoms and Gujarat government is opposing vehemently. uh, Rest of the country, the group captive definition is going like that user invests 26% and investor invests 74%, and user can use the 100% energy. But in
Right.
Gujarat, it is proportion to the equity of each and every member of group captive. So this is the difference.
Great, Mr. Kun.
Uh,
Thank you very much. So
Prerak, I
here
would like to
we
take.
are having Mr. Hardik. Hardik, I want to understand from your perspective on on the Gujarat Solar Wind hybrid project and how it will be a major contributor to the sector of renewable energy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Prerak. Rajesh ji wanted to say something. So, Rajesh ji, please go ahead and then I can take this question.
No, Hardik, I was just fascinated with the recent news. We heard about now since we spoke about group captive, especially open access. So there, in fact, there are large clients not only in Gujarat, in Maharashtra, and many places where they don't have space, and they also don't have demand more than 1 megawatt. And open access is something which many times it was like normally the standard was above 1 megawatt only you can go open access. There was a news where you can
So
go up
Hardik, can
from
you please
200
share your
kilowatt.
perspective? Then we'll discuss with Rajesh.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So, no, on the group I mean, I'll touch upon the group captive subject, but hybrid is something that uh, Gujarat has shown the way, like they've shown for years, starting with the gross metering policy and then the net metering and other things. So, at present, Gujarat hybrid policy is probably the best one in terms of the incentives it gives, the kind of flexibility it gives. Uh, some of the points touched by the previous speakers was that there is no banking charges. You get the full billing cycle as a settlement period as against only daytime. So uh, what I'm feeling, I think I've spoken about it in various webinars, is that now we are shifting to a regime wherein open access will be the mainstream game, apart from the large scale utility and the metering, the net meter thing. uh, One point about Gujarat net metering also, that now the capacity cap is removed, but within premise you cannot still go beyond 1 megawatt, and hence the HT consumers or bulk HT consumer, if I say, they would have to look at open access, because even if they do solar open access, what they're doing is they're only addressing their 11-hour consumption from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And hence the role of hybrid is very crucial, because they look at KWH as a whole, even though they get some rebate about 45 paise in night units from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. But to address KWH as a whole, we hear a lot of our clients are having a serious sustainable initiatives, sustainable targets. They want to reduce their overall KWH to zero from grid. They want to penetrate as much renewable as possible, and hence this hybrid concept is very, very, very beautiful. Now, if I touch the group captive subject, finally, Gujarat government is understanding what group captive is, because the definition is as per the Electricity Act, which says that 26% of the equity, not even the project cost. So 26% of the equity has to be contributed by the consumer, and at least 51% of the power from that unit has to be consumed, which most of the cases will become 100% because that's how people design it. Uh, the recent amendment which GRC introduced to clarify that draft on net metering, it clearly spells out this requirement, and hence we feel that the doors will open for group captive in solar, which has not opened yet. But hybrid group captive transactions are happening. So my another positive feedback on the hybrid part is that hybrid goes to a certain scale, because if you see the most lucrative category is your 66 kV consumer, because then you only end up paying transmission charges. Your 11 kV will end up paying transmission and wheeling charges. So 66 kV consumers being the highest beneficiary in terms of delta per unit saving. The group captive mechanism works very well, because if you look at 5 megawatt or 10 megawatt combination of wind and solar, your investments are really huge. Uh, and group captive is definitely giving them flexibility to curb that investment and also allow them to have a higher penetration of renewable. So group captive is already existing in hybrid, which is added advantage to the removal of banking charges and other flexibility which is given. So if I have to give you summary, the group captive structure in hybrid almost gives you same delta as the rooftop gives in a captive mode, but your payback is much shorter in a group captive as compared to your rooftop now with a increased project cost. So this is the scenario of hybrid. In terms of how it can help Gujarat reach the RE penetration, as I told, is Gujarat is one of the top leading industrial states like Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, even Karnataka. So every paise saved in terms of power cost improves consumers' competitiveness, be it any sector, especially manufacturing. And hence this definitely is a good move by Gujarat government. Only thing was the policy was announced in 2018, but the real implementation came only around 2021, and hence uh, most of the developers are seeking at least 1 year extension, considering the lead time of wind turbine availability. But otherwise, at present, if I talk about anything other than net metering, group captive hybrid is the best solution available in Gujarat, and I'm pretty sure even a lot of CNI guys are looking for it. Recent amendment in open access, which allows consumer having 100 kVA and above to look into open access, is also going to be a game changer, because states like Tamil Nadu are still having restrictions that if you want to buy power from open access, your minimum contract demand should be 1000 kVA. But I think that will go away, and hybrid, group captive, and the open access, I think all three combined will pave a way for a larger scale of execution in the future.
Okay, so what is your view on the impact of this hybrid project on a small industry, or what should government do, or what should the industry do to allow a small projects in the hybrid? How it can be possible?
So, as far as I know, there is no restriction on KVA in Gujarat hybrid. So, if I say that somebody having 1000 KVA contract demand can still opt for hybrid, so he will need 50% of solar and 50% of wind. So, let's say 450 kilowatt each of wind and solar. So, this consumer will get about 20 lakh units in a hybrid, wherein if he does 1 megawatt rooftop AC, he will get about 18, 19 lakh units. So in terms of units, it's the same unit. But if you look at the investment, it's almost 5 crore, or let's say 45,000 per kilowatt. So it'll be around 5.5 crore for a rooftop. Versus here, it will be only 8% of their entire, or 7.8 to be precise. So that investment comes back in almost a year. So even the small HT consumers can look at hybrid. As I told, the most benefits are in the 66 kV category. But if you do group captive for an 11 kV consumer, there are certain benefits like you only pay 50% of wheeling charges, so your losses become 5%, the charges become 50%. So there also a lot of incentives are there. So the impact is very minimal, about 40-50 paise. So even smaller consumer can opt for hybrid. Another thing which I can tell is machines can be shared. So let's say if you are setting up a hybrid with 2.7 megawatt or a 3.3 megawatt machine, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to sell it and entire machine to every consumer, because with the 50% rule, those capacities will not match. So what will happen is a 2.7 megawatt machine would be feeding it to three guys, would need 1 megawatt, or the other two would need smaller than that. So there are a lot of flexibilities in technical aspects as well, which doesn't prevent the smaller guys to look at hybrid as an option, because what they're looking is, they are, again, hybrid is acting as a virtual storage like net metering was earlier. 30-day settlement means you're not worried when you're consuming, when you're generating. So that virtual storage is giving them a lot of flexibility, very less investment, uh, and almost same amount of power saving is something they getting into hybrid. So even small guys can do hybrid. Only question about MSME, I think the government has already addressed by reducing the banking charge for them. uh, the biggest hurdle even for MSME right now is still the financing option, because that is where they struggle, where to invest money, whether in their own business or to set up to solar.
So on financing part, we are coming back. So, but on hybrid, your point is well taken, and it's really appreciable. So you said a very right thing, Hardik, that if we want to consider the hybrid, two parts where majorly we have to focus. One is our grid, and at what scale, how many hours we can fit to the grid. That is one. Another is that how we can even accommodate the small players in the hybrid. So that, but yeah, that overall the cost benefit and LCOE that governs the picture, and based on that, the final decision has been taken either of the small or large scale developers. Okay, now the point to Mr. Ishan, would like to share your perspective, Ishan, about the adoption of state of art new technologies make Gujarat's utility solar project in a competitive across the country.
Yes. Yeah. We have seen the evolution of
Ishan, can you hear?
technology. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Prerak ji, I'm audible to you.
Ishan, we
Hello.
cannot hear you.
Hello.
You're audible, I think, Mr. Pratik.
I can
Not
hear
able
you.
to hear.
Okay.
I can hear
Yeah.
you.
So, Ron, you can hear Ishan?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear him.
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
there is
fine.
something.
Some issue from my side. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have seen the evolution in the solar technology in past 10 years. Like if we see the shelf life of polycrystalline panels, it was around 3 to 4 years or 5 years maybe. But after 2018-19, the transition which has happened from poly to mono and mono to mono PERC to bifacial, that's been fast and that's been drastic, and people have accepted this like anything. And even now these days, when we are when we are meeting people, when we are meeting our clients, they are ready to accept the more evaluated technology. Like, do you have anything more than this? Do you have anything more than this? So like, see, the space is always been a constraint for solar. And the second thing is, we have to come with the technology where we can accommodate more solar panels in lesser space. So when I started in 2013-14, uh, we would have never imagined the panel of 700 watt coming into existence, but now we have that panel. So and yesterday also I was reading somewhere that uh, some company in China is coming up with a technology of optical lens technology, which increases the panel efficiency to 30%. So I think this kind of technology evolution is needed, and it will be the future. I'll give you a very small example. Yesterday only, one of my clients, it's just a small rooftop plant. So they have taken an electric car. So now the solar plant capacity which they have installed, so it's of a lesser capacity because now they are charging their car. So now they want a technology where they can accommodate more plant in the same space area. So now they are asking me that they give me 600-watt panels. So people, people are ready to accept the technology in Gujarat, and I'm sure in we are also working in Maharashtra, we are working in Rajasthan and Delhi. So people in industrial people, or let's say a small household, they are ready to accept the latest technology, be it within it's in subsidy or whether it's no subsidy. But technology is what today's generation or today's installer is ready to accept. So one more technology which I was reading about yesterday is the this heat penetration technology, which somebody in China again or in Taiwan is developing. So the sad part about this thing is why all these technologies are not being developed in India. So I want to urge government authorities and people like the industry leaders like Longi, Adani, and government authorities like Jeremy, Jerk, to set up a unit where all these technologies are developed. We have state of art technology, we have technical know-how, we have experienced people, so we can develop all these we are ready to accept the technologies developed in other countries, but we need a setup over here in India where uh, all these technologies and are developed, and we can export these technologies to different countries. So that is my view on the technology acceptance.
I
Uh,
think we have lost
Hello.
Prerna, sir. Meanwhile, you people can like you can discuss
Yeah.
while
yeah.
he
Let me continue till Prerak joins in, right? That technology, like you have eminent people on the panel who have more knowledge about solar panels than me, but the one important part of the solar plant is the inverter also, right? Today, technology, when I started my doing solar plants in 2010, we had small inverters, we had utility scale inverters and small string inverters. Right today, the technology has changed from 1,000 volts to 1,500 volt DC for utility scale. Panels have upgraded to that level, and inverters also, which were when I started, the biggest inverter our company had was 27 kilowatt. Today it is 350 kilowatt, right? And with 12 MPPTs and lot of filters and protections and high efficiency inverters, which will give you 99% efficiency and long big uptimes. And due to this, the generation per you used to need 4 acres before for a megawatt. Now it has gone down by say around 20%. And with the generation capacity having gone up at least partially because of 1,500 volt modules and 1,500 volt technology with multiple MPPTs. So this has been implemented in Gujarat to a large extent today, and the results are visible. You see, the break-even points will go down with the larger generation in smaller space. That's what my view was till Perak Bhai could rejoin. Just now, Perak Bhai, please take over.
Yeah. So thank you very much, sir, for your views and guidance. So it is very right. Actually, if you'll see, like in the rooftop solar, even if we'll consider, earlier they were only considered the poly module, and now the time has evolved that they are asking for 540 watt peak module, or they are asking that what is the maximum module watt peak you have available. And if we'll consider the inverter 1,000 to 1,500 watt, so this all part is giving a boost to the overall energy sector, and that gives a boost to the new technology, where we can make it more and more technology and evolvement, and it will help us to either reduce the space and to welcome the new technology for the utilization scale. So thank you very much. Uh, for the so for the last point, we would like to discuss. So, sorry, Ishan, I could not able to hear you perfectly, so I cannot able to conclude. Anyone can conclude that what is the concluding remark of Ishan?
I
Yeah.
think,
So
yeah, please,
yeah,
please, Ishanji.
go ahead, Rohanji, go ahead.
I think Ishanji has touched upon all the points of the technology. Basically, more or less, they were discussing about the module technologies, how it has been evolved from poly to mono to perk, and then towards the bifacial. And apart from that, they were concerned that the technology should we are accepting as an Indians, we are accepting the technology which is coming from outside, and they are expecting some response from Prerak ji, Longi, and Dani, very big players who can come up together in India and develop some technology which should be indigenous. Not exactly indigenous, but something we should give to the world that it can be exported to the other countries. So this point is very well taken, Ishanji. Actually,
Yeah, so
see,
my only point is, see, it's we have seen throughout the years that India is, very good at accepting technologies and accepting the Western world. Let me put it that way. Like anything we find in the Western world or any new technology, we are ready to accept it, but we are not ready to develop it. So my point is, let's make in India, and let's start developing. Let's start using our brains, and let's start, doing something exclusive in India and give it to the world. That's what my
Ishanji,
and
really
we have
appreciate.
lot of young entrepreneurs. See, solar industry. The best part is solar industry is dominated by young entrepreneurs. That's what I've seen. I mean, everyone I'm meeting in the solar industry is either below 50 or 45 of age. So I think we have a lot of young blood, and we have technical know. So why not? Why can't we develop such technologies?
Ishan, really appreciate your perspective. And if you have recalled my last discussion, I think on EQ or somewhere, I have raised the same point that why we cannot have our own technology. And if we want to be a leader somewhere in the module, then we should be a pioneer in the technology. Because if we say that in India 25 gigawatt of capacity, but out of 25 gigawatt, if we are having 15-20 gigawatt of poly, we can never catch the requirement and meet it, and we can never compete the world. So if we want to, then we have to move on the technology. You're right, but see, the R&D is never the focused area earlier in the India, we can say, as a country. But so if, I'm not saying that we are not doing R&D, but not the focused area in many of the sectors. But now in the many of the universities where we are discussing day in day out, we feel that that taste has been developed, and people are appreciating this R&D within India. Just like many of the different IITs, we go there and we ask them that you do the project, we will grant the fund, but let's. So this is the only basic objective behind is that how we can develop the technology within India, and how we can utilize our own brain for our own nation building. So this part very well taken, and as a company we are putting some step. I think needless to disclose here, but yes, you are right, and I think
I think
solar
this
or
this
hydrogen
this
or
can
some
be
other.
implemented. Sorry to interrupt, but this can be implemented in each and every company. Like I'll just give you a very small example of my company. Like I'll just tell my engineers in free time that whenever you are free, or when you are not occupied in any project, just brainstorm like what all problems you are facing on site. So they just I see any invention is a part of problem. So what all problems you are facing, just try to brainstorm it, and try to get some solution. We'll help. So big companies like Zodiac, owned by Kun sir, so they can also implement in their company some R&D department or something like that. So that's my only point.
Oh, well taken, well taken. So that I think that is a as a part of Make in India, we can understand that how much we are focused in R&D. Like if so, we are diverting the topic, but still want to say in one sentence that the way the scientists of India has proven themselves, or the way we are moving on the defense, or the way we are moving in different sectors, that shows that now we are inclined toward it. And R&D is not a phase which can be developed in a year. It requires years. But as we have started it, and as we know and we trust on our brain and our efforts, we can definitely do it in the future. With this note, thank you very much.
I would like to add one point here.
Yes, Mr. Gunj.
Yes, we should definitely work toward R&D, but primarily or initially we can start sharing the best practices in like installations or any EPC related best practices we can share on a common platform, so that the overall standard of installation get raised, because lot many sometimes because of shortcuts by few people, the entire technology is getting blamed.
So I think Snehil and Twinkle has uh, arranged this seminar, webinar, like, so as so many different webinars we have, and one of them where we have understood that we were discuss about like how we can do the best installation and how we can do the best cost optimization in the project design phase. So yes, well taken, Kunji, and we have discussed one of the point somewhere in the forum, and I request the solar quarter that they can have another session on this, so we can add value to that, and many of the industry players can get benefited.
Sure,
One
sir.
more one more thing I would like to tell to Solar Quarter team, that whatever discussed here and like so many other seminars, you should prepare like in all the meetings, minutes of meetings are there. So you should prepare a one white paper kind of thing where all the points have been discussed can be tabulated and circulated to people whoever wants to see that, so that the 1.5 hour time which we have spent together cannot get evaporated by other compulsion of businesses.
Sure, sir. This is well noted, sir.
Good, very good suggestion. So great. So with this, we are planning to move on a understanding of the perspective of how we can manage the easy finance and government subsidies, and how it help to conduct the policies of state solar startup ecosystem, and how we can make it more vibrant. So basically, the finance is a key. How we can get the better finance and how we can make the overall system vibrant. So on this, I would like to request Mr. Rajesh to share their views. You're on mute, Mr. Rajesh.
Rajesh ji, you are not audible.
I think some issue is there. Okay. So, Mr. Kunj, do you want to discuss about the finance and the ecosystem? How we can make it more vibrant? Mr. Kunj or Mr. Kev?
Yeah. See, in solar space, finance is nowadays is not a problem. Everybody and anybody wants to finance the solar projects. The problem is the deserving people does not get finance, and those who are getting finance does not want to install solar. That is the catch-22 situation. So yeah, but solar being the driving sector of the economy, uh, nowadays the financial institutions, earlier they had apprehension about the technology risk, and whether this technology will pay back or not. That kind of risk has now been well behind, and now financial institutions are very aggressive financing solar projects. Only thing, in India, still the non-recourse finance is not easily available. So it is always a balance sheet finance or a asset finance. So uh, like Bank of Baroda, State Bank of India, they have come up with some innovative financing scheme for Kusum projects and rooftop projects. But still, getting finance for a smaller projects is difficult, and we need to represent to banking sector about the solar normally is a cash flow neutral project. Anybody installing solar does not have to shell out additional money, because what they are saving from there only they are paying the EMIs. So bank should understand this categorically and give the easy finance. uh, yeah, Mr. Keo, you can.
Yes, Mr. Rajesh. I'm sorry, I think some connection issue. We could not able to hear you. No worries, no worries.
So,
Mr. Rajesh, we cannot hear you.
so can we take Q&A now? Like we are in short time, so like we are getting.
No issue, no issue. So it was a great discussion with the team, and we have discussed on many good points, like on the policy and how we can make the overall industry and corporate on the third party sale, and also we touch upon the very rare point which generally discussed is about the group captive, which was a very good point. Also, we discuss about like the feasibility of wind and solar hybrid sector and how it can govern on with small scale and how it can benefit it to the grid. On the technology part, we have intensive discussion on like how we can evolve our own R&D within India, and we can develop our own technology. And also we have discussed about like how the technology evolved from poly to monopark and then upcoming in the in the topcon or heterojunction. Also in the inverter side, we have evolved a lot, like from central to string inverter, and then in string also from 1000 to 1500 watt, and further the way we are exploring it. So and at last we discuss about the project finance, which is a key for the success of any project. So we understand that in renewable project, if you have two things, that one is land and one is finance, you can make manage the project, because the project management is easy in renewable. The two part is crucial, which is the finance and land. So rooftop is even in this part helping to get the source of the place, and if we can easy finance, it can really help us to get the project through. So, thank you very much to all the panelists who has contributed and show us the direction to the team. Mr. Rohan, Mr. Kunj, it was great talking. Mr. Ishan, points well taken. Mr. Rajesh, I'm sorry, unfortunately, we could not able to hear you throughout, but many of the perspectives are very good, which we have discussed with you. Mr. Pratik, thank you so much, sir, and Mr. Keur and Mr. Hardik. So I'm thankful to all the panelists for their contribution, and thank you, Solar Quarter, for arranging this and giving us this opportunity.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much, sir.
Now we are taking some questions from the attendees.
Mr. Kunj or Mr. Keur, can you take up this matter?
uh, Group housing societies in Gujarat, group housing society can install 500 kilowatt maximum under net metering per society, subject to 10 kilowatt maximum per member. So if any society has say 20 member, their cap is 200 kilowatt. If any society has more than 50 member, their cap is 500 kilowatt.
I request Mr. Hardik to take it up.
Yeah, so this is pertaining to that new open access guidelines that has been announced, but yes, states will debate on that and will come out with this. If I talk about Gujarat right now, the additional surcharge is 25 paise per unit. So it's a very minimum impact, but 6 months ago that same charge was 69 paise. So there was a huge variation, and yeah, once the SERC implements it, it will be another added advantage to the open access consumers. But right now, there is no decision by GERC on that or from any other state.
So, Mr. Pratik, this is the right
Yeah.
point for you to answer.
Yes. If we compare string and central inverters, then which inverter is efficient? Well, if you have smaller installations to be done, say 1 or 2 megawatts, then in that case, a string inverter will be more efficient than a central inverter. But if you are talking about utility scales projects of 100 megawatts, I think the efficiency of a central inverter will be at par with a string inverter, right? It
Agreed.
won't be more, but it will be at par.
And in this case, we also look at the different things, just like um, for O&M, operation and maintenance. Suppose if what how we want to ensure the availability of the plant. So suppose if generally people are saying that if generally one central inverter if having any issue, so that can impact the performance of the whole major plant, but while string inverter can only impact that string. So in that part also generally string inverter become a choice sometimes. Yeah.
Yes.
Next please.
So here we will end the Q&A. So we have to take the Rohan sir's presentation also. So thank you all the panelists for this wonderful session, and very special thanks to Prerak sir for superbly managing the session. So
Thank you,
now
ma'am.
now I request Rohan sir to give his presentation.
Yeah, I think because of the technical glitch, I would not able to initiate in the beginning. So I'll try to keep it small and crisp, basically, for everyone. Hope is it visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
So now, as you can see on your screen, I think the initial video has given a lot of information to everyone, how Longi is doing, what are our projects, what technology we are working on. So basically, this slide, you can see we have the solution for all scenario of energy transformation. And what this mean is we have the solution which is catering to the residential need of my smallest clients, to the CNI segment, and as well as our large scale utility consumers. So this is a small brief about Longi. We are the world's number one renewable company, which is having its operating revenue of 12.69 billion. And one part was getting more discussed with Ishanji and Predakji during this all this panel discussion. That was the R&D. And R&D has been the core strength of the Longi, I would say. We are spending around 5 to 7% of our revenue into R&D, and last year we have spent around 689 million US dollars for the R&D and development of new products. And Longi has got around 1300 patents with them because of this spending, and we have touched the, I think, 2021 end, we have touched the mark of entire 1 billion US dollar spending in our R&D. More than 60,000 people are working in Longi across the globe. So this has been Longi, the history of Longi. We initiated our business. We started it in the year 2000 with our visionary founder, and we were knowing that the technology is evolving and something in future is coming, that was mono. So the accumulation of the semiconductor and mono technology started by then. 2005, we started our wafer manufacturing. As we all know, Longi is very well known for its wafer manufacturing. It was started in the year 2005. 2014 is a really special year for me because I'm handling the module business division, and we started our module manufacturing in 2014. 2019 was more or less was the trend setting year for Longi, because we were knowing that we are getting the model size increment from 330 to 400, 450, and then even more forward. So we had to set some standards for the rooftop as well as utility, and we came up with our M6 and M10 wafer standards by then. And 2021, Longi has established its hydrogen unit as well. So this is what Longi has given to the industry each and every year. This is the result of our hardcore R&D. 2015, monocrystalline was introduced by Longi, and we were doing it with the RCZ technology. Then 2016, we introduced the PERC technology, and which has increased the efficiency like anything. 2017 was more or less a very good year when we come up with our bifacial perk, and we started to understand that the generation from the same area of the land, we can get some more energy, and that's through the bifacial. 2018 was the big year because half cut was a booming word, I think, by then. And because of the half cut technology, we are getting a lot of advantages. Main thing is the current across the module or across the plant is getting reduced drastically, and which has reduced the problems like hotspot up to the maximum extent. 2019 was the era when we introduced M6 wafer standard. Our 450 watt peak CNI residential product is based on this M6 wafer. And 2020, we have come up with the M10 wafer. Now, M10 is the optimum size of a wafer, what Longi is considering after spending so much of amount and the efforts through the geniuses across the world. We have come up to the conclusion that a mobile cannot go as big as a tablet because we know the utility will be diluted. And the same thing is happening with the module. The optimum size of a module should not exceed 182 because even the disadvantage of those sizes or the bigger sizes are much more than that of the advantages, and which can lead to the problems, lot of difficult problems which can may occur in the future. So you can go forward with the M10 wafer as the optimum and the largest size available in the market. So this is, I have already taken care, this is the spending of Longi since the beginning, and it has always remained in the mark of 5 to 7% of our overall revenue, and that's the reason Longi has been leading the industry, and we have more than 1300 patents with us for this technology. Now I'll come up with some big figures, and as you can see in your screen, the capacity of Longi's wafer manufacturing is now standing at whooping 105 gigawatt as of 2021, and we have supplied more than 70 gigawatt of the wafers across the globe. And this is the most important parameter. Now we have touched the capacity of 60 gigawatt of our module manufacturing from various of our 15 manufacturing plants across various countries. Majority of them are definitely in China, and we are taking pride to say that we became the first company in entire globe to ship more than 30 gigawatt of the module in a single calendar year, and we have touched the base of 38.5 gigawatt last year. And definitely this is the reason, or these are our long-term partners who has been helping us growing together. Adani is the name first is there. So Prerak sir, thank you so much for being a part of this journey. And apart from that, Azure Power, Tata, Renew, there are so many big names from India who has supported us, believed in us, and helped us grow together. And more than 5,000 global customers are now currently there enjoying the Longi product and the production from the Longi. Now I'll move forward to the quality. As you can see in this single slide, there is only one slide about the quality, but these are some real big names who can claim that what else can be a quality if it is not past this all quality matter, RETC or PVEL. And I can guarantee tell you that we generally set a benchmark of having a product which is around BIS approved. Let's take an example that is BIS approved. But if you go and see the tests which are being conducted from the all quality matters or RETC are almost 6 to 7 times stringent, and more than 80 tests are being conducted on the modules of different BOM, and then they come out as the number one performer or the best performer of the year. And the best part about Longi is that many modules are getting passed 2 3 or 10 15 tests out of this entire test, but Longi has consistently has been able to deliver the mark of number one performer in each and every test. That's what the best thing talks about the Longi. And it's not only the on ground performance. As you can see, the last thing, that is the energy yield test, you will see that Longi has been performing well on the ground as well, and we are seeing some fantastic installation and generations in India as well. So these are a few records that we have set in past couple of years. The Longi P-type perk having the efficiency of 24.06%. Then the N-type TopCon we introduced, the cell was having its efficiency around 25.21%. And then the HJT cell, what we have introduced, it's having the world record efficiency of 26.3%. So we consider ourselves as a competitor, and we are trying to improve each and every day, competing with our own new and newest world records. Now moving forward to the bankability, because we are seeing there are a number of module manufacturers are coming across the industry, and we are talking about something that we should go ahead, why we should go ahead or choose some big players or the players who is having the highest bankability. The reason behind that is we all know that a business cannot run if the company is not having or running with the good financial records, because if your financial records are not good, you're bound to go insolvent, or you're not going to be there in the market for after some years. So we have taken care of that, and as you can see the result of that, I think this is a little old slide I'm having here with me, but now the ultimate Z score of Longi has exceeded 6.3. And why I'm emphasizing that point, the reason is any company, if you see that or go through that Bloomberg report thoroughly, you will find out any company who is having that ultimate Z score below 2 are really difficult to work with. There are definitely a chances that they might not last for next few years, just because of their poor financial health. Now we are definitely 100% bankable brand since many years now. This is also a thing where we are standing tall on this pyramid of the module bankability rating, only company with the AAA rating since many consecutive quarters, and we have been able to achieve this mark after a lot of work and dedicated supplies done across the globe. Now all what I have covered, it has the main thing out of it is our product. It is getting widely accepted. Hymo 4 is majority we are supplying for our CNI and rooftop segment, and Hymo 5 is for our large scale utility. And as I earlier mentioned, 182 mm M10 wafer is the optimum size. This is the reason Longi is knowing that anything beyond that, at least with the same technology of mono and perk, is not going to be viable for the long run of your project. So you better take care of from with all your technicals, that while choosing the product you should take care of all the technical parameters, that it's not only the larger size of watt peak of the module, but the thing or the quality of the model which should last for next 25 years of your project, because it's going to be installed only once, and the module is the major cost what is going to be consumed. Now moving to the sustainable future, because many time we have been asked that you guys are only supplying, but is there anything you are also trying to contribute to the globe? So my answer is yes. We are not only here to supply the green renewable energy product to the market, but we are having it in our DNA. We want to make sure that the earth should enter the carbon neutral zone by 2050, and for that we have pledged ourselves for with the solar for solar project. We have contributed and joined the project of EP, RE, and EV 100, in which we are committed to ourselves that our entire production facilities will be running on the 100% renewables by the year 2030. And moreover that the EV consumption, most of all the vehicles of the employees who are working over there in the plants and the headquarters will be going with the EVs. So it's, and we want to make sure that we definitely reach our target, our combined target of entire solar fraternity, that the carbon neutral thing should come as early as possible for our beautiful earth. So this is it. This is from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful presentation. And thank you, everyone, for extending your time and support for this event. We promise you to come back with many more exciting topics very soon. Thank you and take care, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you all the panelists for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, every panelist and all the participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, all of you.